Today I'm traveling to my 7th and final wonder of the world with the goal of making this the most epic trip yet. Let me tell you how I'm gonna do it. I've created a checklist that's based on my experiences at the other 6 wonders of the world. Not only what made those trips so special, but also what I definitely could have done better. My ultimate goal is to accomplish everything on this checklist on the way to Chichen Itza, my last wonder of the world. I'm also going to be ranking these from my least favorite to my most favorite. For example, one of my favorite wonders of the world, Petra. One of my favorite solo travel experiences was going to Petra for my 20th birthday. I met a Bedouin man whose family has been living inside of the caves surrounding Petra for generations, and he became my guide along with his pet donkey. He sung these enchanting songs inside the caves, and it was such a surreal experience. He even introduced me to a falcon, and we celebrated my birthday together. Although Petra was one of my highest ranked world wonders, there was one thing that could have made the experience so much better. Bringing my friends. Which is why Brooke here is going to be going on this adventure in Mexico with me.
Woo!
There's also this other guy.
Lino!
We don't really need to talk about him as much.
Okay.
The first thing we're checking off the list today is prioritizing health. This was inspired by my trip to the Taj Mahal, which did not go according to plan. I was pretty burnt out at the time. I had been traveling for a few months and I was not working out. I wasn't in a great place mentally, physically, and I got so sick. Lionel was actually there with me at the time. What was it like?
Lexie was an absolute wreck at the Taj Mahal. In between every single shot and every single photo, she was throwing up. She tried to make it look like she was on her best behavior, but best believe, in between every video, she was a mess. An absolute mess.
So, in order to prioritize our health today, Brooke, what are we doing?
We are going to the gym. We're gonna go work out, we're gonna get a healthy meal, but first we're prioritizing that morning flow, that morning routine that you don't often get when you're traveling. So let's go.
The wonder of the world that has by far ranked the lowest on my list was the Great Wall of China, and honestly, it was entirely my fault. I went to China in the middle of the winter, so it was absolutely freezing, and I came from Southeast Asia. Didn't have enough layers to stay warm in Beijing, and I also didn't realize how intense the firewall in China really was, so I didn't download a VPN beforehand and couldn't even Google anything. I couldn't translate any of the menus when ordering anything to eat, and I didn't know anyone who spoke English there, so I had a pretty rough time that would have been like easily avoidable if I would have been more prepared. And as far as the Great Wall itself, it was, because it was February, it was very dull and gray. All of the foliage was dead and just not exactly the most ideal trip I've ever been on. Now, in order to avoid having that happen again, I always sit down before each trip and create a document outlining everything I should do, everything I need to know beforehand, everything that I should see along the way, and kind of writing some practical notes about how I'm gonna do it. Which brings me to thanking the sponsor of this video, Asus. I've brought the ProArt PX13 on this trip, and it has truly been passing the test. The 13-inch OLED touchscreen has been incredible for editing, and the display colors are vivid, true to life, and crystal clear. It also has a ton of RAM and storage, which means I can work on high-res content and run multiple programs without experiencing lagging. One of the most impressive aspects of the ProArt PX13 is that it comes with a suite of exclusive AI-powered apps and features designed to make the creative journey easier. It's jam-packed with AI capabilities for optimizing workflow, but it doesn't compromise on durability, which is perfect for someone like me who is always working on the go. It has a premium aluminum body, which makes it very lightweight and so thin, which is perfect for fitting in all of my backpacks. I'm definitely not very gentle with my gear, but the ProArt PX13 has military-grade ruggedness and has gone through shock tests, dust, sand, and altitude tests, and can even withstand temperatures down to -40 Fahrenheit or centigrade. You can learn more about the Asus ProArt PX13 by clicking the link in my description. But for now, let's get on the road. One of the reasons visiting Christ the Redeemer was one of my absolute favorite experiences at the Wonders of the World was not just the wonder itself, but it was all of the things that I was able to do along the way that made the experience so special. So in Rio, I was able to go on this crazy scenic flight above the Christ the Redeemer statue, but while I was still in Rio, I made sure to do everything I could possibly in such a short amount of time. I took a boat out on the ocean to a little island, rode on horseback through the jungle, got to see some live music and visit the beaches. I had such an incredible time. So on the checklist today is doing more. And by doing that, we're gonna be going off the beaten path and exploring some of these beautiful cenotes on the way to Chichen Itza. Straightforward items on this checklist is don't get arrested. So the very first wonder of the world that I visited was the Colosseum, and it was right around the time where drones just started coming out. I had this gigantic DJI Phantom 4 drone that I was backpacking across Europe with, and I was like 18 years old. Very first backpacking trip, and I had checked the night before with the armed military guys. I showed them my drone and I'm like, it's okay to fly, right? And they're like, yeah. I don't think they spoke English, so they didn't really know what I was telling them. I also looked on DJI's website and it did say that the Colosseum was a safe zone to fly. So there was nothing online that told me I couldn't do this either. I actually did do my research, and I knew that I didn't want to risk it. I wasn't gonna fly over the Colosseum because of course there's people there. So I actually found this patch of grass outside the Colosseum where I could place my drone in the middle, and I sent it straight up. By the time I had gotten up and could see the Colosseum, you can actually see all of these undercover police cars driving in to bust me with my drone. All of a sudden, just plain clothed cops just appeared out of nowhere, at least 15 of them, and they all surrounded me and were screaming at me to get the drone out of the air. And I was so nervous and putting it down on the grass, and I know you could see the policeman walk up to my drone and put his hands on his hips and look at it so judgmentally and pick it up and take it back to me. And it ended up being this whole thing for hours. They were interrogating me, and this is still right when drones, I guess, were becoming more user friendly, and they had never even heard of DJI before. They were having to Google what that was. It was so stressful. They ended up having to put me in the back of their car and take me to the hotel to go get my passport, and then brought me into the station. And I was, of course, very scared about this entire situation, and eventually pleaded with them so much at the station that they eventually let me go. But it was one of my least graceful travel experiences, and if there's one major takeaway from the trip to the Colosseum, it is to not fly a drone at one of the wonders of the world. So won't be doing that today. One of the best burritos I've ever had in my life. And the pineapple, al pastor. Oi.
Lionel?
It's so good. We got the dip. We got the dip. We're doing a little walk.
Can you sack?
And then Brooke does the sacking. Here. And this is the perfect burrito.
It's finally time to see my last wonder of the world, Chichen Itza, but before I do, I want to check one more item off of my list, and that is arriving late. This point was inspired by my trip to Machu Picchu, which was so special because I had the entire place to myself. I intentionally booked the last entrance ticket and train slot of the day that brought me all the way up to the mountains almost right before closing, which meant that all of the tourists who had gone to see the sunrise were no longer there. People get pretty tired, especially in the heat towards the end of the day, so you can end up having these kind of places all to yourself. It was so incredible to watch the sunset over these sacred mountains and the ruins, and being able to walk along the walkways without any crowds. I was even just able to see like little llamas. It just felt like such a surreal experience being there almost entirely by myself. In order to replicate this incredible experience that I had at Machu Picchu, I've gone ahead and booked the very last entrance ticket of the day to go to Chichen Itza. So fingers crossed, I'm gonna be able to avoid all of the tourists and be able to see this big, beautiful pyramid just drenched in that golden hour sunset glow. I can't believe this is finally happening, but let's go. The time has finally come, my 7th and final wonder of the world. It's Chichen Itza. Come on, what did you think? I didn't learn my lesson. This is stock footage. I did not fly my drone here because it is, of course, illegal, and I was not about to get arrested again. Apparently, there's different places that you could stand surrounding this pyramid, and if you clap, you can hear the echo vibrate back at you in such an interesting way. Try it out. That sounds so bizarre.
Those are weak claps.
You clap better. That's definitely a lot better than mine.
Of course it is. I'm so much
Oh my
better than
God.
you. So,
Oh
are
my
we surprised? No, we're not.
Oh.
Right, people? We're not surprised.
I honestly cannot believe how perfect this day has been. My whole goal with this trip was to show that no matter where it is that you're going, if you try hard enough, you can make it the best day ever. It just takes a few simple checklists just to make it happen. I have been wanting to travel to all 7 wonders of the world since I was a little kid, so the fact that I'm standing here now and have finally accomplished that dream just makes me so excited. There's so many adventures around the world, and even though I've been to so many places, I still truly believe that I've only scratched the surface of how much there is to explore. And I couldn't be more grateful to be with Brooke and Lionel here. They just made this experience so much more memorable. Mexico is also such an incredibly beautiful country with such rich food and culture and natural beauty and history to top it all off. It's really one of those countries that truly has it all. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to see some more behind the scenes updates on my videos, on my life, bucket list destination recommendations, all that kind of stuff, you can sign up for my newsletter at lexielimitless.com/newsletter. And until the next one, let's push our limits.